Well, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and continue on page 69, factoring trinomials by grouping. This is part 2. This is where the leading coefficient, or the number right up front with the x squared, is greater than 1. We just finished doing the examples where the front number was 1. Those were a little simpler. These, they're not complicated, but there's another consideration you have to take in account when you have this number that's not 1. All right, so let's go ahead and do this first example. First thing I'd like for y'all to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'd like you to look at the leading coefficient and the constant coefficient, the first number and the last number. Multiply those together, and you'll see that we get 30. Now, when we have 30, what we want to do is find all the things that multiply to 30. Again, positive and negative values, we do have to consider those. Okay, so let's look at this. We've got 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6, and pretty much that's it. Those are the numbers that will, the whole numbers that will multiply to give us positive 30. Now, because these two signs are also positive, we're going to go ahead and just consider the positive values of these. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the next thing we want to do is I want you to go ahead and write down this 2x squared, leave some space, put the plus 15. Now look at the factors. All of these multiply to give us 30. But which group, when combined with addition, will give us 13 in the middle? 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, or 5 and 6? If you said 3 and 10, you were correct. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to write plus 3x and plus 10x. Okay, now we could have put them the other way too, but for right now, let's just write them in the order we got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a polynomial where we have done stuff like this before. For instance, what is common in this first term? These first two terms. Well, it's an x. When I take out an x from 2x squared, I'm left with 2x. When I take out an x from 3x, I'll have plus 3. Now in the back half, what is common? What can be divided into 10 and 15? If you said 5, you'd be right. 5 goes into 10 2 times, and we still have that x. And 5 goes into 15 3 times. Ladies and gentlemen, notice that we have the same factor in each one of these terms. So we're going to write that down. And whatever not inside the parentheses is going to go inside this parenthesis. And this is our final answer. Let's proceed to the next example. Before I actually start doing the problem, though, I'd like for you to find these factors of the front number and the last number multiplied together. So pause the video and write down those factors. Here we go. Here's our next example, ladies and gentlemen. 6x squared plus 13x plus 6. Go ahead and pause the video and write down the factors of this leading coefficient times the constant coefficient. After pausing the video, I hope you see that 6 times 6 will give us 36. And the factors of 36 are 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and, pardon me, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, and you guessed it, 6 times 6. Now, looking at these, let's first write down what we need to write down over here. We need to write down 6x squared, skipping some space, plus 6. Now, ladies and gentlemen, which of these will combine with addition to give us 13 in the middle? If you said 4 and 9, you'd be correct. Again, I would just write them in the order you have them, but you can write them in reverse order. In other words, I could put 9x first and then 4x, but I'm just going to put it in the order that I have it. I'm going to put 4x plus 9x. 4x plus 9x will give us that 13x, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go ahead and write down what we got here. Let's see. What number could divide 6 and 4? If you said 2, you'd be right. And we can also factor out an x. This will leave us with 3x on the inside. And if I divide 2 into 4, I will get positive 2. And if I take out an x, I won't have an x. This is going to be one of the factors. Plus, what number divides 9 and 6? If you said 3, you'd be right. 3 divided into 9 is 3x, just like that one. And 3 goes into 6, you guessed it, 2 times. Ladies and gentlemen, if we factor out the correct thing, we're always going to have these two things common. So we'll write down that common factor. Oops. We'll write down that common factor. Oops. Sorry. I'll just keep making mistakes today, ladies and gentlemen. What's not inside the parenthesis? The 2x plus 3. And once again, if we were to multiply these out, we'd get this answer up here at the very top. And you could check your work if you'd like to. All right. Again, pause the video, write down the factors that we're going to consider for this problem. All right. After pausing the video, you should have noticed we got 2 times a negative 5, ladies and gentlemen. So this is negative 10. Factors of negative 10, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So I'm going to write down 1 times negative 10 and negative 1 times positive 10. Then I've got 2 times negative 5 and a negative 2 times positive 5. Let's see, are there any other factors of 10? No, that's it. So, I've got to look at these pairs and see which one, when combined with addition, will give us a negative 3. It turns out that this pair will give us a negative 3. 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. So let's write down the 2x squared, skipping some space, minus 5. Now, I'm going to write down positive 2x and a minus 5x. All right. Now it's time to factor out the like terms, okay? Or the like factors. So both of these could be divided by 2, and I can take out an x. That's going to be a common thing with these problems. You're going to take out an x on the first one. Let's see. If I take out a 2x from 2x squared, that'll leave me with 1x. And if I factor out a 2x from 2x, that's going to leave me a positive 1. Well, why? Because 2x times 1 will give us 2x. Okay. Now this next one's going to be a little tough, ladies and gentlemen, because we're factoring out a negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is going to give us 1x. And a negative 5 divided by a negative 5 is going to give us a positive 1. Once again, if we factor out the correct thing, these will always be the same. That's how you know you're right. So let's write down the common factor. And whatever is not inside the parenthesis goes inside this parenthesis. 2x minus 5. And that's our final answer. All right. So go ahead, pause the video, take a rest your eyes. Let's go ahead and go to this next example. All right. Write down the factors. Remember, we're multiplying 3 and 28. It turns out that 3 times 28 will give us 84. Factors of 84, those are a lot of them. There's 1 and 84. Notice I'm only looking at the positives, but I could be looking at the negatives as well. Matter of fact, because this is negative, I want to consider the negatives, okay? All right, let's go. Negative 2 and 42. Negative 3 and negative 28. Negative 4 and negative 21. Negative 6 and negative 14. Again, use your calculator if you're not sure. 8 doesn't go into it, but 7 does. 9 does not go into it. 12 does, so we're done. These are the factors. And notice that I'm doing only the negatives because I need to combine these together with addition to get me negative 25. So take some time, look at these factors and tell me which of these factors will combine to give you a negative 25. I'm going to write 3x squared, skip some space, put 28. It turns out that this group right here, if combined with addition, will give us negative 25. So I'm going to put negative 4x minus 21x. Okay, let's look up here. What's common there? X. 3 and 4 can't be divided by some common factor, so we're going to be left with 3x minus 4. And now back here, we got to be careful. We're taking out a negative. What number could divide 21 and 28? If you said 7, you'd be right. 7 goes into 21 3 times. Oh, look, just like that 3. And 7 goes in a negative 7 goes in a positive 28 negative 4 times. So we have common things here. We'll write that down. And in the next set of parentheses, we will write down whatever is not inside the parentheses. I think the hardest part of this is considering all these factors. And that's going to be the toughest part here. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Last example. Let's go ahead and look at this. Let's write down our factors. Let's get everything ready. You can pause the video, do the whole thing, and then see if you're right. Here we go. 6 times negative 2. That's going to give us negative 12. So all the factors of negative 12, and I want to add them together so I get a negative 1. Okay, so keep that in mind. Remember, I got to get a negative 12, so I've got to have a positive and a negative. So positive 1 times a negative 12, and a negative 1 times a positive 12. Positive 2 times a negative 6, and negative 2 times a positive 6. Positive 3 times a negative 4, and a negative 3 times a positive 4. I've got, that's it. Those are all the factors of 12. Negative 12, that is. So looking at this, which of these can I combine with addition that will give me a -1 in the middle? If you said +3 and -4, you are correct. So ladies and gentlemen, 6x squared, skipping some space, putting a -2. Now I'm going to put +3x minus 4x. Doing this, ladies and gentlemen, I can see that 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3. And of course, we're still going to take out an x. That will leave us with 2x plus 1. Because again, 3x times 1 will give us a 3x. 4 and 2 also have a common factor. That's 2. But we're taking out a -2, so be careful with this, because -4 divided by -2 is +2x, and a -2 divided by -2 is a +1. If you take out the right thing, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see that you'll have these common factors here. Let's write down that common factor. And write down whatever's not inside the parentheses in here. And this is our final answer. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be some homework to follow this. Please do your best to watch this video, and good luck with the homework. We'll be working with that together. Thank you.